Welcome into a fresh week of Daily Faceoff Live, streaming live on the DFO YouTube, and as always, a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Tyler Yaremchuk, Carter Hutton. Huts, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. I don't even know what the heck we did. No hockey this weekend. There's like a big tournament here, so we had to entertain our kids on our own. But yesterday was my son's birthday party with his buddy. We went to the golf sim, so it was pretty sweet. A good golf sim with buddies. Kind of chaos, though. You got 8-year-olds holding golf clubs, swinging. Nobody died, so it was a good day. And we had a couple beers and enjoyed ourselves at the golf sim.
You and your son had a couple beers. That's awesome.
No, yeah, well, he's 8. You know what I mean? We're at Thunder Bay, buddy. You got to start him young here.
We're going to be joined by Kevin Woodley for our big segment today. We'll get into a goaltending conversation with Kevin from InGoal Magazine. But let's kick things off as we do every week here on Daily Faceoff Live by giving out our Man of the Weekend awards. Huts, I'll let you go first. Who do you got?
Oh, I know. Well, I kind of already had my guy picked, and then somebody went off for 5 points last night. We're going to bring him up later, but I'm going with Connor Bedard, the youngster. He's just on fire. Is he finding his game or what? You know, the guy is shooting the puck like an absolute maniac. Not long ago, he had 9 shots in the game against Anaheim. Right now, he's got 19 shots in his last 5 games. In his last 2 games, he's had 3 points against Detroit in a 5-1 win, 1 goal, 2 assists. And then the other night against Calgary, he had 1 and 3 for 4 points. And what's key to him is just the way he's settling in now. You know, his conditioning is so unbelievable, the way he competes at every single time he is on the ice. But I feel like now he's not working himself into trouble. And what I mean by that is at times it's about buying ice and having a little bit more patience. And it feels like he's settling in real well. So it's been impressive to watch. And the Hawks are sitting 3rd in the star-studded Central Division. I don't think anyone predicted that at this point, Ty.
No, it's pretty remarkable what Bedard's doing. It's pretty insane to look at who the top 5 scorers in the NHL are. You mentioned, Nathan MacKinnon. We'll talk about him. He's obviously on another level right now, but Leo Carlsson and Connor Bedard are tied for 2nd in the league in scoring. Macklin Celebrini is 1 point behind them in 4th place. Like, it's a bit of a youth movement here. Kind of that next era, I guess, is starting to pop off a little bit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's one of those things, I guess, you think about the experience, you think about the travel. And again, I've talked about this a few times on the show, is just getting used to the wear and tear of the NHL is something that just takes time, right? I don't care how conditioned you are or how much you've dealt with. It takes time for these younger guys to make those adjustments in this compressed schedule, playing all the time. And the Hawks are doing a really good job of that. Another big important factor here is you look at their goaltending. Spencer Knight is playing very well. Arvid Soderblom has played great, but he's in a protected spot. He might be, after 2 seasons, like when I look back to 2 years ago, how horrible he was, in my personal opinion. He has transferred his game. He has tightened himself up. He's less sloppy. It's been a big curve for him. And obviously Spencer Knight showing what he does best here, being a number 1 goalie.
I want to give my Man of the Weekend award to another goalie in the NHL, another really good young goalie in the NHL, and that is Jesper Wallstedt of the Minnesota Wild. The first-round pick in 2021 actually got both starts for Minnesota over the weekend. They beat the Islanders, they beat the Calgary Flames, and in those 2 games, he only gave up 2 goals. He had a 36-save shutout over the Calgary Flames on Sunday night, and he looked really damn good. I mean, look at his record so far this season, 3-0-2 on the year. All his numbers across the board are better than Filip Gustavsson's, Huts. So on one hand, it is great to see, if you're a Minnesota fan, a young goalie like Jesper Wallstedt playing as well as he is. On the flip side, this is something you and I talked about, I think like 2 shows before they signed Gustavsson to his extension. It was like, hey, maybe you want to wait on backing up the truck for Gustavsson because he's a good year, bad year kind of goalie. And you had this 22-year-old Wallstedt waiting in the wings, a guy who, again, is a first-round pick you should be pointing to, going, our future number 1 early on. It's November 10th. I know. I feel like I got to add that caveat to every point I make. But there's a little part of me that's like, maybe the Minnesota Wild should have waited on signing Gustavsson.
Yeah, I agree. And, we talked about this. And again, for a team that's struggling, I think right now you're a little bit like, maybe if we held his feet to the fire and Wallstedt came up and was doing this, we could pressure Gustavsson. But what do you do now, right? Because it is his crease. You have him. You have to play him. And again, I feel like it's just something that's going on with this team when I look at them, is the fact that they should be performing better. And I think there's a little more pressure now because they gave Kaprizov that money and Gustavsson that early money. So if the young guy gets going, you got to spot him a little more starts here and see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, Wallstedt still has 1 more year on his deal, $2.2 million. So even next year, to have a really good young tandem at $9 million, that's nothing. After that, though, is probably where things are going to get a little bit interesting in Minnesota. And again, for now, the fact they gave Wallstedt both of those starts definitely says how John Hines is feeling about his crease. But there's our Man of the Weekend awards, Wallstedt and Bedard. And yes, if you're listening or watching and you're like, why are you not talking about the weekend Nathan MacKinnon had? We were saving it for its own topic. We will talk about these struggling Oilers, but a moment for the Nate Dog, who put up 9 points over the weekend, 4 against the Oilers, follows it up with another 5 against the Vancouver Canucks. Just an absolutely dominant run for MacKinnon. They smoked the Oilers on Saturday night. I was in the building for that. It was tough to watch, but Nathan MacKinnon, I mean, putting himself up into that top tier here. He's got points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight games.
It's insane. He's just on fuego right now. And again, so last night, Monday mornings, I'm on the rink with my son and a younger group of guys before school. So I went to bed last night. I'm in the dressing room untying my skates. I didn't watch this game. So I was making a comment to one of the dads that we always chat hockey about. And I was like, it's crazy just the young guys going off. And he's like, well, MacKinnon's leading the league in points. And as I pull up my phone to see that he put up 5. So it's kind of like, hey, kids, you're doing great. I love to see it. Bedard, Celebrini, hold my beer. Here we go. The Nate Dog just taking off. Again, when he puts it on, it's unbelievable. His speed, he puts it on cruise control. And talk about a statement game the other night against the Oilers. Yes, there's a lot that the Oilers want back in that game, but that's a huge hockey game, right? These are 2 rivals that are trying to come out of the West to win a Stanley Cup. And I think that just puts an exclamation point on where the Avs are at right now. And again, Sneaky's goaltending too has been very good for them, but Nate MacKinnon is just showing why he is one of the best players in the world year after year, Ty, and it's impressive to watch right now.
And how about the depth on the Colorado Avalanche? 6 different Avs players finished the weekend with 2 goals in their 2 games. Brindley, Drury, Kelly, Makar, Lehkonen, and then obviously the 4 for MacKinnon. And we have the board up here from the 9-1 slaughtering on Saturday night that the Edmonton Oilers went through. And I mean, listen, Colorado is really, really damn good. Again, you see here 1 regulation loss through their first 16 games on the season. They are on an insane run. On the flip side of this, for the Edmonton Oilers, it's gotten ugly. They have just 6 wins in their first 16 games here, Huts. And the goaltending numbers, very ugly. Stuart Skinner, a little bit hung out to dry, but there was also a couple of those that I think he probably wanted to stop. It's getting worse in Edmonton. Maybe the ass kicking is what they needed, though.
Yeah, maybe it's just something that's eye-opening for them. But that being said, I don't always want to put it on the goalie, right? Because I've been in that situation where I've been the bad goalie, but I've also been the good goalie. And the thing is, someone is going to make those saves, right? You look at Wallstedt, what he did this weekend. You look at some of these goalies that are playing well. Spencer Knight, I chatted about Logan Thompson. They're making saves that they aren't supposed to make. There's times where they get left out to dry. It's the new age NHL. It's based on offensive scoring chances. There's skill. There's going to be chances. And you're paid to make those saves. So again, I do sympathize at times because, it gets a little lost in chaos. But if you look at the start of that game, like both of Makar's goals to start aren't great goals, right? Like those are savable pucks, right? Like they're good shots. He's a great player, but it's from distance, right? Those are ones that have to be saved. It's different when there's traffic and tips and a breakaway or, any way it goes down, but you have to make saves. And that being said, Skinner's been tough. And again, how long is the leash for Picard, right? Like, cause he is a guy that is kind of this, he's not really ever going to be your number 1 guy. Yes, he's been awesome, and I love Calvin Picard, but this is a team trying to win a Stanley Cup. This isn't a team just trying to get by and meet in the middle here somewhere. So I feel like a change is coming. I know we're going to bite into this a bit more with Woodley when he joins us because he's the goaltending guru. So, but again, when your team is second-guessing what you're getting in net every night, man, it's hard to play hockey.
Yeah, and I know that the kind of natural move here for the Oilers would be, hey, you traded for Connor Ingram a month ago. Bring them up. But you look at Connor Ingram's numbers in Bakersfield, and they're brutal. 3 straight games where he's allowed 5 goals in the hockey game, and they had 2 games over the weekend and didn't play him in either of them. So he hasn't played hockey in 8 days now. So I don't think the Connor Ingram thing is going to work, at least not now. You need to give him more time to get ready. So again, there's a goaltending problem in Edmonton. I don't know if there's a goaltending solution coming in Edmonton. I think it's on those guys in the room to try and figure it out. We saw Connor McDavid at the Oilers practice yesterday getting, I'll call it, mildly heated with some of his teammates. He didn't seem thrilled. That's why I'll just keep going back to, I think that 9-1 loss, they needed something like that. They were feeling their way into the season. They were not playing with a tremendous amount of urgency, passion, desperation, whatever buzzword you want to throw at it. I think them getting embarrassed on national television on a Saturday night, I think in the long run, it's going to be good for them. And again, this is the Oilers. Every year, Huts, this happens where they need something, whether it's firing their coach, which I don't think they should do, but firing their coach, losing 6 in a row, or maybe getting their asses kicked. Every year, they need something to kind of snap them into the season.
Yeah, there's something that needs to get going. It just, I guess at this point, if I'm a fan of the Oilers or now I'm analyzing their play, like when does it stop? When do you just become a good team? When do you find that consistency throughout that locker room? I know it's infuriating, but at the end of the day, they've been to 2 cup finals, so you can't knock that. We can look back and pick things apart. And maybe that is just part of the process for a team that is trying to get where they want to go to the ultimate goal. But this process early in the season, again, it's hard to watch, Ty, and I think it's frustrating for everybody involved.
Keep the goalie conversation going in 2 minutes when we're joined by Kevin Woodley. But one more topic for us to knock off the list. It's Hall of Fame night in the NHL. It was Hall of Fame weekend out in Toronto, and a hell of a class joining the Hockey Hall of Fame this year. From an NHL perspective, Alexander McGillney finally gets the call. He won't be there this weekend, but Duncan Keith will. Multiple-time Stanley Cup champion Joe Thornton gets in. Zdeno Chara. On the women's side, it's Brianna Decker and Jennifer Botterill. Jack Parker, the head coach at BU for 40 years. Danielle Sauvageau, who won gold with Canada at the 2002 Olympics. They'll both be there for their acceptance speeches as well. It is a great class, but keeping it locked on the NHL side of things, Huts, with the likes of Keith, the likes of Zdeno Chara, and Joe Thornton, who you're familiar with.
Yeah, Jumbo Joe. So that was my first real taste of the NHL. So it was my first year pro. I was playing in Worcester, and so I'm backing up in the American League. Alex Stalock gets stepped on. So he's out. He cuts a nerve in his leg. And Niittymaki at the same time in San Jose gets hurt. So I go from being the backup in Worcester to backing up Antti Niemi in the NHL. We have a day off. Joe Thornton takes me out. I was up for a month. I don't think I paid for a meal. I don't think I paid for anything. And he used to call me Charlie all the time. So it was a great story. So later on in my career, as I became a full-time NHLer, he'd always come over at the red line at the start of the game and be like, "Hey, Charlie, how you doing, buddy?" and chat with me. And Shea Weber would always give me a hard time. He's like, "Hey, you're on our team. Why are you chatting with Jumbo all the time?" I'm like, it's Joe Thornton, man. I can't believe the guy he call me whatever he wants. I'll answer to him. So later in my career, he actually asked me for a signed stick to add to his collection. So I still think that's like the highlight of my career, that Joe Thornton asked for a Carter Hutton stick for his collection. So it was, he was really good to me, and years went by. He always kind of kept in touch. So it was pretty cool to see these guys honored. Again, weird McGillney not being there, but rightfully so. It took a while to get there, but glad he's there.
Yeah, Joe Thornton finished 14th all-time in scoring in the NHL by the time he retired. 1,700 games played as well, which is a crazy number. There are only 5 players in the history of the NHL who've played more games than Jumbo Joe Thornton. An absolute. I mean, we knew for a while he was a lock to get in the Hall of Fame. He was also, so he's 6th all-time in games played. Chara was right behind him as well at 7th all-time. And if you go to NHL.com, they got some pretty cool stories up about all of the inductees from this season. And tonight's the night we'll get to hear their acceptance speeches. And Joe Thornton, I mean, again, you shed some light on the absolute character that he is. That might be an all-time Hall of Fame acceptance speech from Jumbo.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to just seeing him around. I watch a clip of him in St. Thomas there coming in to talk to the guys in the room. Was awesome. And also another fun fact, the last goal I ever gave up in my NHL career was to Joe Thornton when he was playing for the Florida Panthers. So he welcomed me into the league, and he shipped me out at the end. So again, just a bunch of guys that are like very unique guys too, right? Joe Thornton was a guy that was social and he had so much fun. But then you look at Zdeno Chara and his leadership and what he did for the Boston Bruins. Duncan Keith, very similar. I had a chance to be around Duncan Keith when I was in Chicago. Very intense, very opposite ends of Joe Thornton. So a unique group, and it's always fun. The Hall of Fame game was awesome. And I assume tonight there's going to be a lot of tears when he talks, but I'm sure there'll be some humor involved as well.
Yeah, it should be good. Maybe we'll definitely have some viral clips from that tomorrow on the show. For now, let's turn our attention to our big segment. We're talking goalies with Kevin Woodley, and it's brought to you by Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates, if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Whether it's before, during, or after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Kevin Woodley covers the Canucks for NHL.com and talks a lot of goalies for InGoal Magazine. And Kevin, I know you do weekly radio hits in Edmonton, so you are no stranger to having to talk about the goaltending issues for the Oilers. So let me start there. Give it to Oilers fans straight, Kevin. How bad is it right now?
Well, I mean, this is a team that wasn't built to rely on elite goaltending to win games, right? Like, that's just not how it is. And right now, the way they're playing, they need it, right? Because they're not the defensive juggernaut that they have been since Chris Knobloch arrived, right? Slow start to the season, and a lot of that is the types of chances they're giving up, the highest danger chances. Not at a league worst rate, but middle of the pack rate, whereas they need to be a top 10 team. Last year, Calvin Pickard had one of the highest expected save percentages in the league. In other words, one of the easiest environments in the league, and he was good in it. This year, his expected save percentage is .865. So I know there's a lot of negative attention around Calvin right now, but no goalie survives at .865. Like, that's just an impossible environment. And the story I like to tell, the example I like to point to is Eric Comrie. That last year in Buffalo, he cleared waivers multiple times. Everyone said he wasn't an NHL. Like, I kept hearing, he's not an NHL goalie. He's not an NHL goalie. He had an .858 expected save percentage. I've never seen one that low. It's like they fed him to the Wolves every time they knew they were going to get beat down, and he had to bear the brunt. Goes to Winnipeg, and for the past 2 years, last time I checked, pretty good goalie, right? So environment matters, and the Oilers' defensive environment is not as good as it's been, and it's not what they need given the goaltending they have. On Stuart Skinner, I still believe he's capable of being an above-average NHL goalie. He did that 2 years ago. Tough for him in that he hasn't had an off-season for the past couple of years. I know 2 summers ago it was a real struggle to sort of find that balance between recovering and starting to build on his game. And as you know, Carter, that's it. Like, that's where you make changes in your game, is in the off-season, right? Like, so if you don't have that time, where do you find the time to sort of make, significant structural changes? It's hard to do during a season. I think they are trying to make some changes in terms of how he plays. It's been hit and miss. There's been a couple of rushes where we see him sort of diving headfirst across the crease, and everyone goes, "Oh, he had no chance." And I go, "Oh, he didn't give himself a chance because he was way too aggressive on the initial shot." That's an adjustment they're trying to make off rush. Have him sit 3/4 depth, maybe mid depth, and let the play come to him. And we've seen times where it works, and we've seen other times where he goes back to, it's like a golf thing. You change the swing. Professional golfers change the swing under pressure, back 9 on a Sunday in contention at a tournament, the old swing comes back. And so we've seen moments where some of his old sort of style things have come back. And so it's a process. You can't snap your fingers. It's going to take some time. It would be nice if he was able to make that adjustment behind the type of defensive team they've been for the past couple of years, but they just haven't been that to start this season. So it's one more factor on top of a whole bunch of factors. And I heard you talking, Carter, about what kind of team are you? I do think, and we've seen it here in Vancouver last couple, when you change as much personnel as they did this offseason, finding that identity, coaching staff, forwards, it takes a little while to find that identity. And it seems pretty clear they haven't fully found theirs yet.
Kev, I agree. I feel like I lived it, right? I went from St. Louis, where we were so predictable and great defensive structure, to Buffalo, where I felt like a lot of bad habits crept back into my game because I was trying to do too much. And at times as a goalie, you want to, right? It's not like lack of caring or lack of trying. It's just the fact that you're exposed to so much more. And a guy I want to touch on, is this a better system or just health? When we look at Thatcher Demko, he was out the other night. Is that a rest purpose? But he's been playing a lot better this year. It looks like he's back to the old Thatcher Demko we know.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is, to be honest, the system's actually looser this year. And again, part of that is new personnel, new coaching staff under Adam Foote, and just sometimes it's everybody not being on the same page, getting spread out. Their PK has been seamed all season, just way too open seams. And you know what that means as a goalie, Carter? Back doors open, cross ice stuff, the most dangerous plays on the ice when teams are able to go lateral on you and have open looks on 1Ts. Seen a lot of that in the PK. So I think the team is actually looser, and he's just been better. Last year was all about health. This guy is a top 5 goaltender in the National Hockey League when he's healthy. And it's all a matter of sort of getting him to that spot. And if you look at his history, it's been an every second season thing throughout his career, right? Plays a full season, gets hurt towards the end of it. His off-season struggles because he has surgery. The next season isn't as good. The following summer, he has a full off-season, trains, plays 50-plus games, gets hurt at the end of it, misses significant time training in the off-season last year, struggling to stay healthy, struggling with results. This year, he's had a fully healthy offseason. I do believe, as much as the eyebrows went up this weekend in Vancouver, and the word salad that was kind of used by Adam Foote to sort of talk about his, I think it was preventative maintenance was the term they used ultimately. At the end of the day, it sounds like he woke up a little sore one morning, and they decided to be precautionary. I think he could have played last night. I think he wanted to play last night against Colorado, and they decided to exercise that caution and wait until Tuesday night in Winnipeg. I'd be surprised if he's not there. At the end of the day, it's the only question mark about Thatcher Demko's game is whether he can stay on the ice to play it. We see the physical tools. We see how he's built himself into Ian Clark's system, even though Ian's no longer here. That's still the foundation of how he plays. He's got all the tools. It's just a matter of, this is his fifth year as a number one, and he's yet to make it to the finish line healthy. That's the last stretch, and they're managing his minutes this year. They're trying this weekend to manage his rest and make sure he doesn't push through an injury and make it worse. And I think that's what it's all about. Ultimate goal is get this guy healthy at the end of the season. Hopefully, if they're in the playoff picture, he's a guy that has the ability to make a difference come postseason.
Yeah, I know he's a guy, I'm sure the Vancouver Canucks want him nowhere near the Olympic roster, so he can be rested and safe. But as you look at Canada's goaltending situation, they don't have a goalie from their Four Nations Cup with a save percentage over 900. Who is going to be Canada's goalie? And is there anybody that's on your radar? I know Logan Thompson was the one that was talked about so much last year, and he's off to a hot start here, Woods.
Yeah, I still think Binnington's going to be there, right, just because of what he did at the Four Nations. And the reality is last year his numbers, and again, when I talk about numbers, I mean the stuff I get from ClearSight Analytics. It's proprietary. Frankly, it measures shot quality in a way that no other analytics do. And so I trust it, and it's allowed me to make some predictions that have come true because the underlying numbers show these things. Last year it slipped, but in the previous 5-6 seasons, he was the best goalie relative to environment in like top 10 in the league and Canada's best by a long shot. So he absolutely on that team. I think I said is the only way he's not the starter is if it falls off a cliff. Well, it's kind of fallen off a cliff early this season. Like 66 goalies in the league have seen 50 plus chances this year, and his adjusted save percentage ranks 65th. Sam Montembeau's 61st. Aiden Hill's in the 50s, and he's hurt and probably won't be back until right before they have to name a team. So there are a lot of question marks, but there are answers available. At the opposite end of the spectrum, Logan Thompson at plus 3.5%, like relative to environment, leads the entire National Hockey League among goalies that have seen at least a couple hundred chances. So he's sort of filtering out for the guys who, the Devin Coolies and Jonathan Quicks have only played a handful of games and are having success. Amongst the regular starters, it's Logan Thompson slightly ahead of Connor Hellebuck early this season. So I find it hard to believe he's not going to find his way onto that team just because this is 2 years in a row. And even though his numbers fell off after the contract last season, we saw what he did in the playoffs. I thought he was good for Washington. The numbers backed it up. So he's definitely a guy that's on the radar. Besides that, Jake Allen's having another solid start, brings a veteran presence. A name that I'm not sure a lot of people have thought about, and he's young in his career and hasn't had a lot of sort of playoff or international experience, so this probably doesn't happen. But every time Jet Greaves is in the National Hockey League, he outperforms his environment by a significant margin. Again, I don't know that there's enough experience there for Canada to take that shot, but based on the numbers so far this season, he should at least be part of the consideration.
Last one for me. Hutton and I opened up the show today talking about what a weekend Jesper Wallstedt had for the Minnesota Wild. And Hutton and I were both kind of critical when they signed Gustavsson when they did, because we were like, why wouldn't you just kind of let the season play out? But what do you make of the Minnesota Wild goaltending tandem? They gave Wallstedt both starts this weekend.
Yeah, I this is one I struggle to explain. And Carter's probably got better ideas on this one than me. But right now, Filip Gustavsson is trending in the Craig Anderson direction. Every second year, he's one of the best goalies in the league. And then the next year, he's not terrible, but he's right around league average. I didn't mind the contract because even when you average that out since he arrived in Minnesota, between the great seasons and the average seasons, he's still a top 5 goalie in the National Hockey League by the numbers. That's how good this guy is when he's on. And in those peak seasons, he's challenging for best in the league. He's in that conversation where you could see him being a Vezina finalist in the short order. What I can't explain is why it only happens every second year. And it's early this season. Numbers aren't baked in. We don't really judge goalies till they hit 20 games. And sad reality, it just takes a while to get there. But yeah, this is trending towards one of those Craig Anderson used to be the same way, best goalie in the league every second season. And then not bad, but just not the same level the next, alternating for long stretches of his career. This will now be 4 years in a row of us seeing that from Filip Gustavsson. And I don't have an answer as to why, but the numbers are sort of irrefutable that that's kind of what's happening.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there, Kev. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out when the young guy's going, because I have played on teams, and I referenced this before when I played with Pekka Rene. There was times where Rene was struggling, and the team would be like, well, we have to play him to get him going. So you wouldn't play. And then if he was playing really well, it was, well, we got to play him because he's playing well. So it's, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But that's what happens when you give a guy a big contract early in the year.
Well, and and that's the thing, right? Like that's the one part. I can look at his technical game. Like Gustafsson's technical game is like chef's kiss, right? Like he's one of those Swedish goaltenders. The way he plays in and off his post. I remember talking to Marc-Andre Fleury the last couple of years about like all the things he's learned from Gustafsson in terms of post play and integrations and things like that. But so we can see what he does on the ice. Can never see inside their head, right? I can't see the mental pressure that comes with that contract. And maybe, as you said earlier, maybe it was before I joined, but there's one thing about goaltending. It's kind of like golf, eh? Like you can't try harder. Like rarely can you walk up to that first tee and just like swing out of your butt and it goes well. Goaltending is all about letting it come to you. And that's so easy for me to say from my couch and so hard for these guys to do against the best shooters in the world. And when you start overthinking, man, it's a dangerous place to be.
Kevin Woodley, NHL.com and InGoal Magazine. Appreciate the insight and appreciate you giving us some time.
Yeah, hey, one last one, because you guys started talking about the Hockey Hall of Fame. Huts, I need you on this team. About time we saw some goalie coaches get nominations. I've made the pitch for Francois Allaire over the years. You have another one in Mitch Korn, who absolutely deserves to be there. For some reason, the Hall regards them as just assistants. But these guys change the game with what they do, and it's about time. As much as we should celebrate those going in this weekend, it's a conversation more people need to have.
I like that. I like that, Kev. Always looking out for the boys.
Got to be in the union, my friend.
Thanks, Kevin.
Take care.
You want to give some love to some other goalie coaches, Huts, for askDFO?
Yeah, there we go. We can get some goalie coaches in there. I like it. I don't know. I think, honestly, it's a really good point, though, because you got to think like where it's at now. Even at youth hockey, like goalie coaches is like part of the team. It's changed a ton of guys' lives and experience and revolutionized the position. So I like what he's on to there.
Yeah. askDFO. We got a couple in here just because, title of the show is Oilers. I think we got more Oilers fans in the chat than usual. But Brian, who's in here a ton, said, on top of the goaltending issue, should Knobloch be looking over his shoulder? You cannot fire a coach who's done nothing but bring you to Stanley Cup finals. Like if you think the answer in Edmonton is firing another coach, I think you are totally out to lunch.
Yeah, no, not yet. Not even close. I don't think not yet, not ever right now, right? It'd have to be years of, if they miss the playoffs and they're horrible, I still think you're coming back with him. I think it's just like a personnel problem a little bit too. And again, the way they play, I think it's going to come around. It's just the fact that it's a big game at home on Saturday night and you just lay an absolute egg. So it's really hard to swallow.
Yeah, totally. Let's get to our daily bets for the day, brought to you by Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And do you hear those footsteps, boys? That I'm coming up in the rear here. I got a shot at this thing. I'm hot, plus 200 on Friday night.
I try to get away from this, and then I had to send you guys that photo of I think it was a tweet. The play by Jonathan Quick. I don't know if anyone in the watching saw that. The play, Patrick Kane has an open net and he's about to tuck it in, and Quick dives and like picks his pocket and his stick to keep me from getting my point. Oh, that one hurt.
Brutal. All right, let's get to our picks for tonight. I'm right back on the shot props. And how about this price on Ivan Barbashev? In his last 3 games, he's gone 3 shots on goal, 3 shots on goal, and 4 shots on goal. For Ivan Barbashev to get 3+ tonight, it's actually plus 300 on Bet365 right now. So again, he's done it in 3 straight games. We're getting a plus 300 price tag on it. I love the Barbashev bet, plus 300. Pat, what do you got?
They give you the wrong plus there. I got 203, but either way, Connor McDavid over 1 power play point today, going against the Columbus Blue Jackets, 70% penalty kill. The Oilers aren't playing super well right now, but their power play is still second in the league, and McDavid's still one of the best in the league. So at plus 125, I didn't mind that. I actually wanted to parlay it with Draisaitl, but apparently you can't do that, and probably for good reason. What about you, Carter?
Yeah, they can't put those two together. You know what? The poor Rangers, I actually have a photo in the back. Someone in the chat. I'm trying to be more active paying attention, but this is a photo from their loss. It's all Rangers fans sitting down and 1 Islanders fan. So they've just been so poor at home. I'm going to take Shesterkin over saves today. I think it's 25 was the mark. plus 125. I think the Preds are going to shoot the puck. I don't know how much they're going to generate. Two struggling teams here, so it should be interesting. I look for Shesterkin to be strong as always.
All right, we're all going plus money bets tonight on Bet365. Let's wrap up the show with a little bit of garbage time and a fun announcement here on Daily Faceoff, a new show coming to the network, and it is called the Tri-State Hockey Podcast. You all know Johnny Lazarus from Morning Cup of Hockey. He has the Rangers covered. Former NHLer Mike Rupp has the Devils side covered. Arthur Staple will be looking after the Islanders. And twice a week, these three will sit down and talk everything New York tri-state hockey. Again, I know we have a bunch of Rangers fans in our YouTube chat that are going to be fired up about this. And a cool blend of like Johnny, who kind of brings the young energy. Rupp played in the NHL. Arthur Staple's been on that hockey beat for decades now. So really, really cool pod coming to our network.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's a good avenue, right? Too, when you look at it, you have three different guys. A younger guy, Arthur Staple's been around forever, and Mike Rupp, who does a great job with NHL Network and everything that he does, a good part of it. So it'll be a good percent. There's going to be some arguments too, because Johnny gets a little defensive about his Rangers. There's going to be guys defending their wall, but it should be great. So look forward to catching up on that all the time. Keep us updated on what's going on in New York.
All right, that is a wrap on today's edition of the show. Big shout out to Kevin Woodley once again for popping on. Enjoy Hall of Fame night, everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, noon Eastern. Chat with you then. Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.